Welcome to the Emotional Eating Unwrapped podcast. I'm your host, Alana Kessler, an emotional eating and weight loss coach for women looking to fall in love with eating, create healthy attachments with food, and lose weight sustainably. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Emotional Eating Unwrapped. I'm your host, Alana Kessler, and I am so excited about this episode today. I have to say that Cassie actually suggested this episode for us. And when I saw the topic, I was jazzed because this is something that I really have like a beef with a little bit. I think I have a beef with it. And I also think that there is value to it. But we are going to talk about a topic that's becoming more and more common, the rise of AI-powered diet coaches and wellness apps. And I feel like it's about time that we talk about this because they are advertised everywhere. A lot of people use them because they are affordable. They can feel more affordable than human coaches, although I have dug deeper into some of these apps and programs, and they do kind of have a lot of hidden costs and fees. And if you want more personalization, they do end up actually being kind of pricey. And I don't particularly then think that they deliver the value because at a certain point, you need a human experience for transformation. And these apps promise that 24/7 support, meal planning, accountability, all from the convenience of your phone. And I understand that that could be really appealing, but here's the truth. Those apps might seem like too good to be true, and oftentimes they are. Because for most of us who struggle with emotional eating, right? Like I just keep saying this over and over again. When we have emotional eating, it's because we are using food to feel better from some sort of emotion that we are covering up or we don't know what it is yet. And it's just nagging at us subconsciously. And so therefore we're using food. But ultimately at the core of it, we want to feel seen, heard, and we want to feel connected. And the only thing that can make us feel that way is real human connection. So today I want to share why I believe that while AI can be helpful, and it can be helpful, right? It can be helpful for information. It can be helpful to make you feel like you're doing something, which ultimately I believe can be enabling in the long run and can make things even harder. I believe that these tools oversimplify the journey, and what's missing when you take out the human element is what you actually really need for the transformation, which, like I said, is like a genuine person reflecting back to you all the things that you think the food is going to do for you, which it does not. And so nothing can replace, no amount of information, strategy, an eating meal plan, none of that is going to give you what you really need, which is to have your feelings validated, have your feelings, heard by somebody, and for you to feel that release of somebody being like, yeah, that's valid. That is valid in the moment, right? In the moment. There's nothing like it. Even listening to this, right? Like, even listening to this. So let's start with the appeal of these AI-powered apps. And there's so many of them now. There's Noom, MyFitnessPal, I think other ones that are associated with like Ozempic and GLP-1 and things like that. And all these programs, they promise to be your diet coach, your therapist, your accountability buddy, all rolled into one. And even better, they're available 24/7, which can feel really comforting at first when you're looking for structure or a way to keep your cravings in check. But when you reach out to them, what do they give you back? Right? They give you back like some diet advice that always feels like it's a bit off, like robotic and like sort of not exactly what you asked for. Meal suggestions, not exactly what you like were looking for, right? Because you essentially are part of an algorithm. If you ask a question a certain way, you're going to get a certain canned answer that relates similarly the most to what algorithm bucket you fit into, right? And so ultimately, though it's convenient because it's there, what you get is like oversimplification. And so it's like, it's really that old question, like, is it better to be in a relationship that doesn't meet your needs, but you're not alone, than to be single? I'm of the belief that it's worse to feel lonely when you're in a relationship and you have somebody there, but who's like, you feel like it's not quite right or it's not quite meeting your needs. I think it's better to be alone. And I think these apps are sort of like that, right? They're convenient, they're there, but ultimately you just keep getting reminded that you're not getting what you need. Because these apps focus so heavily on calories, macros, meal plans, tracking, right? Like, because there's no humanity to it, there's no reflection, there's no nuance. They're giving you more tools. They're giving you more like things to focus on, to manage, to get data back from, right? They're trying to replace human connection with data. And that's not going to work for people that struggle with emotional eating. We don't need data. We need connection, right? And so these apps can actually create more frustration because we're not touching the deeper issues. We're not touching the real roots of why we turn to food for comfort. We can't really go there with a robot, right? Like, you're going to ask a nuanced, emotionally charged question and they're going to respond back with some sort of canned robotic answer in these apps. I remember a time in my own journey when I was using MyFitnessPal, and again, I thought that if I just controlled my macros and calories and I had that tool to help me replace my craving, I would just focus on that and that would like eliminate some of the other stuff. Obviously, did not work, to help me stay on track. But what happened is that I would become even more obsessed. And then when the obsession made me tired and exhausted, I would just let it go altogether. Right? I would just completely just like stop doing it altogether. It was like paralysis by analysis. I just stopped doing it altogether. I stopped listening to my body altogether because ultimately I wasn't listening to my body when I was following these tracking. I was just tracking, thinking that the tracking would replace the listening to my body. I didn't have to do that because if I just followed the tracking, I'd get to my goal, which was weight loss. And I didn't have to do that other like really kind of amorphous stuff of listening to my body, which felt extremely, it wasn't a direct method. There was no A to B to C. Like, I had to go through a process of not knowing what it felt like to listen to my body until I got to the place where I listened to my body. And I knew what it felt like, right? There's a learning curve that I wasn't prepared yet to do until I was. Because the other way ended up making me feel even worse, even more isolated, even less connected, more frustrated. I remember what it was like to be stuck in the cycle of emotional eating. I tried every diet out there, counting, tracking, restricting, but nothing ever lasted or worked. Food controlled my life and my thoughts, and I constantly felt guilty after eating. But once I learned how to heal the emotional triggers behind my eating and trust my body, everything changed. I stopped obsessing over food, the weight came off naturally, and I found real freedom in how I ate and lived. I created the Eat Freely, Live Fully year-long mentorship to help other women experience the same transformation so you can stop battling with food, you can lose weight without deprivation, and you can feel confident in your body again. In this mentorship, you'll get personalized coaching, weekly check-ins, bi-weekly meditations, and a community of women who truly get you. Plus, you'll have access to my signature programs, The Emotional Eating Solution and Decoding Permanent Weight Loss. And to help you get started, your first month is just $33, so no pressure. It's just a chance to see what's possible for you. Click the link in the show notes to start your journey today, because you don't have to do this alone anymore. I'll be there with you every step of the way. That's the biggest issue, essentially, with these AI wellness apps. It's the missing human element, because emotional eating is not about food. It's not about data. It's not about numbers. It's about emotions. It's about stress. It's about habits. It's about our mental health. It's about our nervous system. It's deeply personal, and everyone's experience is unique. Everyone's experience is different. And AI can't understand that. It can't It can't be empathetic. It can't listen. It can't be nuanced. It can't respond in a way that's personal. It's pre-programmed. You fit into a bucket, like I said, right? Like when I was using these apps, you'd follow the prompts and all that stuff, and you'd get messages back like, great job, or, try again tomorrow. That kind of was like, I feel like that doesn't really like give me what I want. Right. It's like that feel. It's like I just keep going back to that feeling where it's like you're investing yourself in a relationship that is just not meeting your needs. And like over time, that's extremely draining. It's extremely disappointing. Right. Because we need compassion. We need empathy. And the truth is, we don't need it. Like if you get a good dose of empathy and compassion, like a couple times a month, right? And connection to yourself, you're guided in that way. You're not going to need these everyday rules. That's the thing. You don't need these like consistent, like things every day, keeping you quote unquote on track when you get like, a dose a couple of times a month of like true compassion, true guidance that's nuanced for you, helps you in your unique way, right? I mean, that's what we really need. And these apps, like I said, their value prop is data, right? They ask you questions that, that signify or that assume that they're going to be able to answer you with empathy and compassion, but they can't. So they give you back like random robotic answers and calorie counts and rigid rules. But as I've mentioned before in other episodes, rigid rules are going to make emotional eaters rebel like 100% of the time. And if you're an emotional eater, you know this. You have done this already, right? You have already tried this and it has already not worked for you, right? You rebel into binging, guilt, shame, all of that stuff again. And when you tell the app, right, all the app says is, get back on track, right? You'll get back on track. That's what happened to me. You'll get back on track, right? Because when I was doing this, I think it was like the beginning of these apps. And also I've heard about it from my clients, right? Like my clients and students in my mentorship will come to me with examples of how these apps spoke to them, right? So why is the human connection so crucial to healing? Why can an app replace what a real person can offer? And for one, I've said it before, overcoming emotional eating, it's a relationship issue that you're having with food. So the only way that it could be healed is within another relationship, and that is usually with a human. And usually the reason why we have an unhealthy relationship with food is because we used it to help us soothe and distract from unhealthy relationships with humans. So the only way that we can, fix that, heal that, is to have a new healthy relationship with a human, usually well, I do it within my mentorship or my coaching, where you have healthy, compassionate, empathetic, warm, feeling seen conversations with other women in the mentorship program, with me when I do my coaching calls, the meditations, all that stuff. And then in my one-on-one coaching, the same, but like you're reprogramming your relationship, the way that your body and cells receive and understand relationship through healing with another person as your coach, as your community. And that in itself translates into your relationship with food, because you're retraining yourself. You're retraining your cells to trust people differently, which essentially trust yourself differently, right? All of these relational skills translate into our relationship with food. All of these relational experiences, new relational experiences, translate into our relationship with food, right? And I remember when I finally started just getting out of my isolation and opening myself up to getting support from coaches, from communities. Like I've mentioned many times, there were a lot of different communities because there was no one program, the one that is similar to what I do now, to kind of bring it all together. I had many different communities and like modalities that I had to basically connect to. But when I finally did that, it helped me understand myself, and it felt like a weight was lifted, and my nervous system relaxed through that feeling of connectivity with other people. And instead of feeling like I was alone or in isolation doing this, or instead of getting some sort of like weird robotic encouragement, which started to feel more like that relationship that doesn't meet your needs, that's just kind of there and now becomes a nuisance. Instead of that, I had felt seen for the first time. I could actually explore why I was eating, not just what I was eating. And that was completely life-changing for me. Right? Like, why was I eating? Right? Let me like swim in those waters. Right? An AI wellness app is never going to be able to sit with you in your pain, your struggles, or offer you real compassionate understanding that you need in order to reprogram the way that your nervous system, your cells, your brain, your heart, and your body respond to food and eating, right? It won't be able to notice patterns, won't be able to pick up on body signals, cues. It won't be able to track how your non-food context of your life is impacting your eating, right? Healing emotional eating is about so much more than just tracking macros, tracking calories, following a meal plan. It's about trusting and building trust. And that is a training that requires real human connection. Okay, so if you are listening to this and you're feeling frustrated with these apps, so say that you're using them now, you have used them in the past, and you kind of are like thinking about maybe going back because you want support, just know that you're not alone. You're not doing anything wrong. Technology can be a helpful tool, but it should just never replace the human connection that's really vital for true healing. Instead of relying solely on an app or solely on a plan, look for support that offers genuine empathy, genuine understanding, the ability to adapt, to you and with you, that provides those nuanced emotional skills, emotional trainings, right? Healing is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Right? It requires much more than data and information. And it requires a whole shift in the way that we feel about ourselves, about other people. It's about integrating our emotional life with our eating life. All right, so that is all for today. And as always, wishing you an amazing, amazing week. And remember that whatever you're working towards, however you want to feel in your life, you can do it. You are worth it. And if you are listening on Spotify and Apple, please rate us well, leave a review. And if you're listening and watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, I'm Alana, and thank you for listening to Emotional Eating Unwrapped.